Good morning, folks. Welcome to Terrace with Dusty Tracks BC. We are in the Terrace Fire Hall with the Chief, Chad Cooper, who's agreed to sit down with us today. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Happy you're here, so looking forward to having a discussion.
Me too. We've already been learning so much. That tour you took us on.
Yes.
Oh my God, I did not know. I feel like I was lost every corner.
Oh yeah. It's quite amazing, the fire halls here. So we have offices and dorms and kitchens, and then we did a little tour of the apparatus bay and all the different apparatus. It was a great tour. So
it was an awesome tour.
And we got a real live emergency right in the middle of the tour. So
yeah, that was wild. Can you give me, obviously no details, but what kind of happened?
So the crews were just ready to have a quick coffee, and our radios go off. We get paged out through Prince George. So they had a medical aid call come in. So the crews muster and try to get outside the fire hall in 60 seconds or less. So.
60 seconds?
Yes.
And that's from as soon as the call goes through to when they're driving out in the fire
Driving
truck?
out and responding.
Wow. And does that change depending on where they are in shift? Like if they're asleep, is that different?
No, we still shoot for the same. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's remarkable.
Yeah. Me and the deputy, we try to enforce service and customer service to our residents. So it doesn't matter if they're in the gym or in the shower, they have 60 seconds. So they always got to be planning, like have their gear ready to go. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so how many people are on staff today?
We have two on staff today. So, and we also have the deputy, myself, and then we have an admin clerk Monday to Friday. So our staffing is a minimum of 24/7. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then that 24/7, how long are people on staff for?
So just as of January 2nd, we switched to a 24-hour shift pattern from our old 2 days, 2 nights, which was two 10-hour day shifts followed by 14-hour night shifts with 4 off. We switched to a 24-hour model now. So the crews work 24 hours on, get 24-hour rest period, come back for their second 24-hour work schedule, and then they get 5 days off. So the shift changes at 8 o'clock, so they work 8 to 8.
And have you noticed any change in staff with that?
Yes, it's been a huge improvement. The staff were finding it really hard after the 2 day shifts, if it was really busy, to switch over to the night shifts. As we all know, firefighters have families or other commitments, and that changeover period, they would come off shift at 6 o'clock, go home, have dinner, do family commitments, try to get sleep. We wake up the next morning, life still goes on. They try to have a nap. Of course, naps during the day never really work, and then they work a night shift. So, and if it's a busy night shift, they're not getting any sleep either. So we call it sleep debt. So we're seeing by the second night shift, our staff are almost at the level of intoxicated from sleep deprivation. So we made the switch to 24s just to kind of follow the circadian rhythm better and allow a better work-rest balance with the firefighters.
Yeah, that sounds like a very good change. That like exhausted, intoxicated sleep debt cannot be good when you're responding to a high-level fire.
Exactly. So we've also seen improvements with the 24-hour shift, just with our daily work routines. Under the old schedule, if day shifts are really busy, we have kind of assigned daily activities, inspections, and training. If they can't get to it that day, they potentially missed it. So under the 24-hour shift, if the day's busy, they can circle back to the other duties at nighttime, so they can catch up on some training or some inspections. Also, the shift handovers were kind of a pain in the butt. So at 6 o'clock, if there was kind of the 4 to 6 was a busy period, crews were on calls, and then the other crew was here to relieve them, and they're still tied up on another call. They couldn't do the shift handover properly. So it seems to be a lot better with that handover at 8 o'clock in the morning. Things are still quiet in the mornings. And
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. So will you walk me through, a firefighter shows up 8 a.m. for their 24-hour shift. What happens? What do they do?
So they show up at 8 o'clock. Usually they show up a little early. Grab their gear, they throw it directly on the truck. The off-duty crew pulls their gear off, and then they're ready to respond. So there could be a call right at 8 o'clock, so they got to be ready to respond. So at that point, then they do a shift handover. So the outgoing crew basically says, hey, this is what we had for calls. give a status of equipment if anything's broke down or damaged, anything they need to hand over throughout the day. They kind of have that dialogue of, hey, we're seeing fires here, and just watch out for this, like burning complaints, and yeah.
Wow. It's wild to be here and just see all the different things happening and the people racing around, and like, it seems almost like just wrong to be like walking pace in the fire department. There's so much happening all the time.
Oh yeah. Days are very busy, so.
Seems like it.
Some days are super quiet, and then sometimes you can get 7 calls in 6 hours. So it's
busy.
Feast or famine in the in the fire service. So.
So did you work as a firefighter here, or how did you come up through the ranks?
My story is quite complex. So, second generation firefighter, born and raised in Alberta. So my father was a paid-on-call firefighter, worked himself up into a captain's role. So even as a little kid, I was dragged to the fire hall all the time on calls. Pretty much grew up there with the rest of the firefighters and their children. So I got the bug right away, just seeing how my dad interacted with the other firefighters, just the type bond that they had in the family commitments. Really installed a work ethic in me. So right from little, I knew I wanted to get into the fire service, and I just kind of built myself up from there. So
That's amazing.
right out of high school, went to the military, did a stint in the infantry, just trying to get some life experience, and then went to fire school after that. So
Wow.
and I'm in my 18th year of service now, full time. So
Damn. It's remarkable to hear just the like commitment from day one.
yeah.
You've always wanted to be a fire chief. And why a fire chief and not just a firefighter?
As a chief, you're basically, the accountability starts with you. So just to having that influence on kind of crafting the department and our service level to the community is really rewarding. So looking after our staff, increasing staff, looking at our services, looking for ways to improve our services to our residents is it can be challenging, but very satisfying and rewarding at the end of the day.
Yeah, those improvements sound like an exciting part of your job.
Yeah.
How long have you been fire chief for?
So I've been in Terrace for 9 months now. I was originally a deputy fire chief in Prince Rupert for the last 4 years. So made the move over and enjoying it so far. So
Yeah, it's a pretty cool city.
it is, yeah.
What kind of improvements and things have you been focusing on as you become chief?
So we're increasing staffing. So we had gaps. I did a assessment of where our staffing levels are at when I came here as chief, and I found that for almost half the year, we were dropping down to 1 firefighter, creating a response delay. We had to wait for additional firefighter to come from home, crew the truck, and then our minimum response is 2. So knowing those gaps, I did a thorough business case and submitted it up through city administration and through council, and was approved for 2 more positions, which will get the fire hall to 12, which is mandatory 2 on staff now. It's 24/7. So we're going to see services improved to our residents. We'll have 2 out the door as fast as possible. Even for structure fires, they can start actioning the fire from an exterior standpoint. So
That's remarkable, a shift. Like you cut the response time in half, it sounds like.
yes, yeah.
2 minutes to 60 seconds.
Yeah, we're seeing those shifts where we only had 1 firefighter on staff. We had basically 1 staff member on standby at home, and it took anywhere between 8 or 10 minutes for them to respond to the fire hall, get on the fire truck. Then you had your travel time to get to the incident. So cardiac arrest, structure fire, motor vehicle accident, you were looking at 15 minutes probably.
And what difference does that make, having a longer, shorter response time?
It makes a huge difference. So if someone's having cardiac arrest, we can start CPR within, say, 6 minutes of when you actually activate emergency services, which increases your survivability rate. So even a structure fire, fire doubles every 30 seconds. So if we can get there with 2 and put water on the fire, we can potentially hold back the fire and mitigate those potential property losses while we're waiting for additional staff.
Every 30 seconds?
Yes.
Damn.
and fires grow crazy nowadays. So modern home furnishings are all synthetic, petroleum based. There's some great videos online through YouTube where it takes like the legacy, kind of the 60s, old couches that are kind of natural fiber, cotton, and then you take your modern furnishings, and we call it flashover. So basically where that whole room heats up and combusts all at the same time. So basically it's an item fire and then the whole room's on fire. And the old natural fibers legacy took 30 minutes before that room actually flashed over and caught fire. And now it's down to under 5 minutes, sometimes 2 minutes. So fire is moving very fast now with all the synthetic products.
You kind of know that colloquially, like, oh, my IKEA stuff's going to burn faster than the vintage thing I got from my grandma, but those are very different numbers.
Yes. And that's why with our prevention strategies is like, you need smoke alarms. Like that will save your life. You don't have much time to get out of your house, and then practicing your escape routes. So 2 ways out of every house and a meeting point. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that. What are different things? So escape routes, smoke alarms. What else can people do to keep themselves safe from fires?
Another prevention strategy we tell residents is how many people sleep with their bedroom doors open, or even open a little bit. So we tell everyone like close before you doze. So close your door. So that door will provide you with a bunch of time to potentially rather crawl out the window or wait for firefighters to come rescue you. Just creates that barrier and keeps all those products of combustion, nasty chemicals out of your space. So.
Yeah, I don't like those nasty chemicals in my space.
And even we tell residents, so you're going away on vacation, go around your house and shut all your bedroom doors and kind of isolate. You're creating a barrier for air pass. So I've seen fires where the house is totally destroyed, but that bedroom door was shut and that room is basically untouched. No smoke damage, no water damage, no fire damage. And that could be the difference between collecting old family heirlooms or pictures of lost relatives and jewelry and kind of expensive stuff. So we don't think about that when you leave on vacation.
Well, actually funny you should say that. I just learned that one recently because I went on vacation and my sister ran around my entire house and closed all my doors. And I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, slowing down the fires!
Even just unplugging like certain appliances and things goes a long way. So
yeah. That's good to know. Wow. Oh man, I am learning so much talking to you.
And then we tell everyone like have a central meeting spot. So even with children, like you might escape out the back of the house, but have that meeting point somewhere where it's easily identifiable. Because when our fire trucks arrive on scene, that captain will hop out and immediately go to that spot and try to get information. Hey, is everyone accounted for? Where's the fire? Is there anything we should be concerned about? And then the more information you can provide fire crews, the better.
Yeah, wow. As soon as this interview's over, I'm texting our roommates. We're going to have a spot.
Yes.
I mean, don't tell the fire chief we don't yet, but.
Yep.
Well, that's interesting. And how often do you see people are accountable to these things? Do you find there's a lot of good public awareness?
I would say it's 50-50. So no one really expects a fire or actually practice their escape routes. So I would recommend practicing that a couple times. Because when the actual emergency comes, you're going to go flight mode. And so if you have those repetitions and build that muscle memory, like, hey, I'm going to go here, left or right out of this room, I'm going to go left or right out of the living room. Because if there's a wall of fire and smoke, potentially it could derail. And if you already have those procedures drilled into your mind, it's going to go a lot easier. So.
Yeah, I would be derailed. That would be very derailing.
Yeah, no, that would be bad, yeah.
How does that work for firefighters? How do you train enough and build those systems to be able to not be derailed by a massive fire in front of you?
So we try to create every. It's just another day on the job. So we have a set core basic skills that we try to do daily on shift. So firefighters are assigned training topics to cover. So we work on the basics so that when the emergency happens, we're already got the basics dialed. So we're making those time improvements and getting out into the scene as quickly as possible. So.
Wow. That makes sense. You build the basics like
Yeah.
you were talking about,
Yeah.
have those really solid basics. So when all hell breaks loose,
Yeah.
you know what to do. You've
Yeah.
broken hell
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. So one of the things we do is we have our training building, so we'll fill it full of smoke. We'll hide baby dolls and kind of simulated victims in there. Something we do is when the firefighters show up, we have one of our staff members play the distraught resident. So they're screaming at the firefighter like, hey, my child's in the bedroom. It just creates that stressful response so that the crew on scene can just focus, take the information, and apply it. So, and not go down the confused.
The scary wormhole.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, wow.
we also have speakers throughout the building. So we actually play like screaming victims and just create that stress, because that's real life. Is people are going to be screaming and yelling at you, and
Yeah, wow. That must be rough for the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like? How do you take care of your staff as a chief?
yeah, I would say next to cancer, mental health is one of the biggest challenges of keeping happy and healthy staff here at the fire hall. So we see a lot of unpleasant things daily. So something we strive on is mandatory fitness. So if your body's healthy, your mind's going to be healthy. We do debriefs after critical incidents. So we'll have a crew check in. We'll say like, okay, there might be gaps in your memory from this incident. It's normal. You might not be sleeping tonight. It's all normal response, natural from the body. And we try to like connect the dots between A and B for the incidents. So.
Wow.
We also have a CISM team, so we'll activate a specialist to come in and within 72 hours have a formal debrief with a counselor that's specifically trained in trauma response.
That must be huge to your staff.
It is, yeah.
Why is that important to you to have your staff taken care of like that?
We want to keep firefighters healthy and have long careers in the fire service. So as chief, the weight is quite heavy when I see staff members struggling with mental health, substance abuse. They're waiting to get counseling, they're off work, they're not with their fire family, they're kind of subjected to being off by themselves. Within the fire hall, we have staff members trained in that. And we do a bunch of health and safety initiatives. So we have a little barbecue area where we do staff fun, bring families in. They have a basketball hoop now. That day, like just going out as a crew, shooting some and talking shop goes a long way. So.
Yeah, it does.
And,
Wow.
we did some training a couple months ago. So we did some peer support and debrief training for our members, but we also focused on the family members. So we gave them education. If they see one of the firefighters struggling at home, it's a normal response, but this is what to look out for. And then if you need help, you can identify it, reach out to one of the chief officers, or here's some numbers to call. So they might show up to work with a good face, like everything's good, I'm ready to serve the community, but we might not know that they're struggling with their mental health. And then when they go home, basically everything unravels. And
Yeah, that must be a crucial step of really like allowing those firefighters to have the support at home and in their fire family.
yeah, exactly.
Have you noticed it making a difference?
It has, yes, yeah. So we've seen a drastic increase since I've been is just focusing on that mental health supports. If it's a critical incident, we'll actually take that crew out of service for the day. That's another initiative that I started here. Kind of the old system was bad call, just suck it up and you deal with it the rest of the shift. But now we actually identify, okay, that crew is out of service. We'll backfill with additional staff, and we don't basically kick that crew out home. If it's during the day, what we'll do is we'll go for a hike together, we'll go for lunch together, and if you have basically that crew together, you're informally debriefing on the call, you're kind of connecting those pieces like, I seen this and that staff member seen that part of the call, and if you put the two together, it kind of connects the dots, and then it just helps your mind process that traumatic incident. So
That sounds like a great initiative.
yes, so we'll go for a hike or go for lunch and go to the pool for steam and just kind of build that team together. Like, hey, we're all in this together, but we're kind of focusing on that post-traumatic growth. It was a crappy call, maybe not the best outcome. We did everything we can. Let's focus on, okay, we had that incident, but we're still together as a family, as a team. We'll get through this, and we'll continue on with our services. And it's just going to build us up better for the next call. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I have only a few questions left. So much,
Yeah.
taught us so much
Yes.
already.
Yes.
I'm really curious, so far in your first 9 months, what do you like best about being fire chief?
I would say, especially being fire chief in a smaller municipality, is our crews that are going out enhancing community well-being, we're seeing the results instantly. So like the bigger centers, you might do 1,000 calls in a month. It's harder for your staff to actually see the direct impact because it's one and then the next one and the next one. We're here, we get to know the community, like medical calls, the community is really rest assured that firefighters are showing up. They're going to get the best service of from their firefighters. So.
Residents of Terrace must sleep a little more easily.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Knowing the fire team's got their back.
Yeah. So, and another thing initiative we department is I noticed there was a kind of a gap after a fire. So the resident had a fire, they're in ESS, so they get put up in for 3 days into a hotel. What do you do then? Do I need new ID? Can I get back into my house? What can be clean? What do I have to throw away? So we have a document that we provide that resident. Okay, here's what to do after a fire. Here's the steps you need to do. Go at this and contact your insurance. This is why the fire department busted out took all the windows out. It's for ventilation. This is why we cut a hole in the roof to let all the gases out like it's normal. So, and then how to get a copy of the fire report. Another kind of second part of this program was once I have a fire cause determination, what we do is there's a lot of rumors within the neighboring blocks. So Joe had a fire down the street, rumors are going around, was it this, was it that, was anybody hurt? So what we do is we target the next day with the on-shift duty crew, is they go around, do door knocks. If we have an actual fire cause determination, it was accidental because of this, or it was a cooking incident. Hey, by the way, do you know some cooking safety? We do free fire inspections of your residents. We'll test your smoke alarms. We'll install new ones if they're expired or outdated and not working. So just kind of calms the residents, like, okay, there was a fire down the street, but everyone was out, everything worked well. They had smoke alarms, everything worked. The fire was accidental. There was nothing to do to prevent it, and then just provide some comfort and take the kids through the fire truck. Okay, it was a bad incident for the neighborhood, but we build it back up into a positive. Like, this is the fire crew. You just create that bond with your community.
Yeah, that's quite remarkable. It's interesting. It's really great to hear how much you're like hunting for the gaps and trying to be like, okay, this was a weak spot. How do we make it a positive? How do we make it stronger?
Yeah.
That's really good to see. It must make such a big difference for residents.
Yes.
I know I'd feel better if a fireman was knocking on my door the next day when there was a fire down the hall, being like, "We're okay."
Yeah.
Like, oh, thank God.
Let's check your smoke alarms. Make sure. You'd be surprised how many residents actually like, oh, my smoke alarm went off, or it was low battery, so it was beeping. I took it off and I was going to replace the battery, but it's sitting on top of the fridge for the last 6 months. So.
I don't think any of us can meet your eye right now.
Yeah.
You've got me thinking we need to check all of our smoke alarms, all 4 of us.
Yeah.
But,
so standard practice is when it's in the spring and fall is a good time to check your smoke alarms, test it, change the batteries if it needs batteries, and you should be checking them, hitting the little button once a month, make sure it's still good. Yeah.
And I think that's all we're going to chat about for today.
Okay.
Unless there's anything else you feel like we haven't touched on yet.
No. Yeah. It's pretty good.
Thank you so much. I think we all have some safety plans to put in place
Yes,
and
yeah.
some fire alarms to check.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
thank you so much, Chad.
Yeah,
We really
yeah,
appreciate your time. And
doors always open at the fire hall. So if anybody wants to come through, we're happy to have an open door policy. We want to be accountable to our residents and visitors. So that's part of my role as chief. Is I'm always forecasting the future and kind of anticipating the community trends and mitigating those. So yeah.
Amazing. Oh my God, yeah, we didn't even get a chance to talk about what the summer looks like, but another day.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
thank you again. And
Awesome.
thank you everyone for watching. We've been
Thank you.
here in the Terrace Fire Hall. Bye.
Take care.